closed session. Those who went here earlier, we had our pledge of allegiance, we adopted the agenda, went into closed, and now we will have a certification of our closed meeting.
Members of the board, do you certify that to the best of your knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements were discussed in the closed meeting, and two, that only such matters as were identified in the motion to enter closed session were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting? We'll have a roll call. Ms. Coleman?
Aye.
Mr. Nickel?
Aye.
Mr. Capel?
Aye.
Mr. Van Hoven?
Aye.
Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So, two housekeeping announcements. We have our Deputy County Administrator, Stephanie Straub, joining us on the dais this evening. She is sitting in for Glenda Paul, our County Administrator, who's on vacation. And Glenda will be joining us here via Zoom for a County Administrator report a little bit later on. But she'll be doing that on her vacation time, and we're grateful for that. So with that, we will move through the meeting. Next up, on item number 4, special presentations and appearances, and we do not have one this evening. Number 5, we have a consent agenda with 4 items. I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The consent agenda is approved 5-0. We have no old business this evening, and that leads us up to our new business, and that is a resolution to initiate Planning Commission action on ZTA 2602, amendments to the agricultural zoning district. So you will see this is based on a work session that we had as a board, where we had a number of discussions about initiating a zoning text amendment concerning the by right divisions policy in our agricultural zoning district, as well as those related components. If you could go to the resolution. There's a resolution number 260825-7A, and I would open the floor for any discussion on the resolution.
So, good?
Yep.
So, I'm gonna say the same thing I said during the work session. To send them a blank piece of paper and saying, go to work. And I mean, I know we can do that, but I don't find that right. So, it doesn't have to be anything written on said paper, but to give them some kind of ideas and paths they can go down, so they're not starting with a blank sheet of paper, I still think is wise. Because they're gonna sit there with a mouthful of teeth too, saying, oh, okay, what are we doing about this? And then they get to address the whole issue. So at this point, I don't know all these legalities, we still can do something like that, or no, that's not worth it, we're past this. Or are we past it, or we can still put a couple things down. For instance, there may be some ideas out there, good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter, at least it gives them something to go by.
Can you, elaborate? So let's look at the resolution. So we have a resolution which follows the code, requirements under the code, and we're asking the planning commission to review a potential amendment. That is for public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and or good planning and zoning practices. It's described here governing the by right divisions. That review, is fairly broad, but we, have the ability to talk about, I think here, what we're thinking about, right? Pursuant to our work session. So what we don't want them, what we're not saying to the planning commission is, we're looking for change that corresponds either with what some of our neighbors are doing, and we had a discussion about that, and we had documents with that, with Allison and Josh in our work session. And then we, in addition to that, we looked at some sliding scale, options with some various counties. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's what we're asking them, to take a look at. You may have particular aspects that you would want to comment on and say, I'd like you to pay particular attention to X or Y or Z, and you can do that, but what we want to come back from the planning commission is a recommendation on a change to the, agricultural zoning district by right divisions. Now, I'll lean into our county attorney and go, is that, did I say that right?
I think you accurately conveyed it. Certainly, you can include additional parameters that you'd like to be looked at. The whereas clause that's in the middle on the screen right now really gives those parameters. If there are additional parameters, you certainly can make those additions now and make that referral. And it's really for staff then to work with the planning commission to put flesh on the various parameters that you laid out.
And in fact, staff took, to follow on with that, staff took a number of our recommendations, our discussions in the context of our work session. So we're not asking the planning commission to go out and create something that we haven't necessarily talked about in the scope of authority around our neighboring counties or the sliding scale. Jason, you have a comment?
No, I mean, I think it'd be perfectly appropriate to articulate you've got a different idea, or you want them to consider something additional to the sliding scale, or some different approach. I think articulating it here puts it on the record and gives them some guidance.
So you're asking me to articulate
Well,
the spotlight, right? That's just great. These 2 sessions in a row. And I swore I'd never do this. Alright, so we got the sliding scale concept out there that they get to look at. Keith, I think you spearheaded that one, right?
A little bit.
And so another way they could look at this, right? I think we as a board have consensus on 2 acre minimum lot size, so that they probably shouldn't go down that path.
Correct.
Should leave 2 acre lot size alone. Another way to look at it, which ultimately comes out to the same, very similar, if not same outcome as the sliding scale, if they happen not to like that language, is forget acreage size, you get by right 4 divisions. You can go up to 8 divisions if you follow a planned development strategy, which is gonna fall on roads. Okay, so it's gonna be important that our road standards are up to date. However, we all agree that that's supposed to be. And then beyond 8, they're gonna need to rezone said property, okay? When you do the math to that concept, you're not using the word sliding scale. I think we've done it back and forth many hours on the phone and saying, hey, you're ending up with the same thing. So all I wanted to come out with the planning commission then could work on, and for our there's some ideas that are coming from the board, some board members, not all, I know we don't have consensus. But, you know, if you need 2 acres alone, whether you do it the sliding scale approach or whether you do it this other approach, you basically get 4 lots by right, 4 divisions, you got 20 acres, I guess you come out the winner. If you got 2,000 acres, well, you still only get 4. You wanna go beyond 4, you can get to 8, you're following some form of plan development, which is gonna guide us right to our road standards. You wanna go beyond 8, you still have the right, you just got to rezone your property. And both of them things will hopefully counteract what most of our problems are, all the lots along the road. And all the driveways coming out into country roads or main roads. And probably doesn't affect a person's rights to that, and that's per lot, you know, of course, per parcel, per parent parcel. So I just wanted to articulate that, hey, maybe the planning commission hears that too, saying there's a couple different avenues. For just a couple of us that have spoken, I think that you're coming out to the same answer. And Keith, I hate to put you on the spot, but I mean, it's you and I that articulate both of these same type of things, so you're still in agreement, right?
I am, I guess there's 3 main things that I would like to see. Definitely like to maintain a 2-acre minimum. I think, there's no sense in forcing people to divide their property into larger parcels than what's necessary to have a residence, drain field, and, additional property in case you have put in the second drain field. And 2 acres meet that minimum. The other 2 things that I would like to do is, I do feel like we have to come to some conclusion as far as how many divisions an individual by right landowner can do. It can't be a forever number, it can't be how many we cut, how many times by 2. I just don't feel like that's in the best interest of how we develop our property. The other critical thing that I like to look at is, what can we do to retain open spaces? You know, if you wanna live in a rural area, you've gotta have some open spaces that allows you to farm, allows you to harvest timber. These are critical aspects of what Orange is, and we need to do what we can to encourage that. So those are the 3 main things that I see that we need to do. Sliding scale addresses that. If you wanna develop larger numbers than maybe the 3 and the 8, Mr. Van Hoven,
4 and 8.
the 4 and 8, which includes, I would consider, residual. It has to be greater planning involved. Road structures have to be of greater quality. And, it's gonna take a little more engineering aspects to that than what someone can write out on a piece of paper, so those costs will go up. And that's understandable, you know. And so, again, 2-acre minimum lot sizes. Let's do what we can to maintain our open spaces, and there has to be a definite number of divisions by right going forward. That's pretty much where I'm at.
Thank you, Supervisor Marshall. Supervisor Coleman, do you?
So in our work session, I think I mentioned very clearly my thoughts on the sliding scale. It's not being positive. There are a handful of reasons why sliding scale is not necessarily appealing for our local ordinance. One main thing that concerns me about sliding scale is that it's difficult to administer. It can be very difficult to administer. And we've heard from Mr. Frederick that in other localities, such as Fauquier, has like quadrupled the number of staff to administer those rules. And I'm just very worried. We have difficulty administering what we have now, and I don't want to make it any more complex than we have to. I like to keep it simple. I know we are trying to restrain the development that's gotten out of hand, but I do have a hard time of just saying, no matter how much land you have, no matter how much acreage you have, you can only divide it X number of times. it's not equitable to everybody. It's, you know, you're gonna have, I don't know that it really solves the problem that we're trying to address. Some will have large lots, some will have small lots, and they'll still divide. We still also need to address the family subdivisions. And I personally, I like the 2 acres, but I don't like the 2 acres, so I'm gonna talk out both sides of my mouth. I really think we could increase the acreage size slightly and still get the same results we're looking for, because big developers typically are not going to come in and, you know, take 4 acre lots, 5 acre lots and subdivide into the 100 plus lot developments that folks like my colleague Supervisor Capella are very concerned about. So with that said, I just would like to leave a lot of things on the table for the planning commission to dive into, and hopefully they can, I'm sorry it's sort of a broad brush, but hopefully they can take into consideration a lot of different potentials and maybe something that we haven't even thought of. And we do have our subdivision ordinance with road standards, and I know Supervisor Patel's not a fan, but certain additional standards do also work in conjunction with our ordinance. So I think we should not have blinders onto that, and I think we need to take a logical approach and not be too quick on the number of divisions, the sliding scale, or any of the things that we put on the table. I think it needs a deeper dive.
Have anything to add? I've just been a proponent of fixing the problem, and there's a million ways to fix it, so let's just pick one.
Yeah,
I've been in my position for years.
okay, so it looks like, I tend to align with more of the Louisa. I think there's 7, so if it's 8, I'm not as concerned about that. I think we ought to come in line with our, I think the only person I heard who was not really in favor of 2 acres, you're a little more open, Supervisor Coleman, to higher acreage, but I thought we had a consensus around 2 acres, so I'm gonna say the planning commission, that's where it looks like 4 out of 5 of us are, but, you know, they have the purview to look at those lot sizes, as well, and make their best recommendation. I think the Louisa example with the 7 divisions here, 8, consideration of open space is appropriate. I'm kind of the opinion we need to take action, and since I've been on this board for over 2.5 years, almost 3 actually, because it started in November. We've had this kind of hanging out there, and we've got to get some action on it. So my plan is to vote for this resolution. Planning Commission is talented. They did some great work on the other work that they've completed for us, and I'm going to ask them to continue on with their excellent work.
I just wanted to clarify, when I said larger lots, I meant slightly increase
Okay.
from the 2 acres. I'm not a 10 acre, 15 acre, 20 acre person. I'm talking about, I really feel like a slight adjustment could actually get us closer to where we wanna be, and be simplified and, more equitable for all.
Appreciate that clarification. And I wasn't trying to suggest that you had. Yeah, no, that's okay. And, yes, Supervisor.
Well, just one, and we do need to add the subdivision ordinance into this.
Yes, we do.
If we're gonna address road standards. So I'll be happy to read the motion, but
Yep,
we do need to add the.
well, we agreed to do that, and for some reason it didn't get captured in the resolution. So could you read, you're proposing an amendment to the resolution that would include the subdivision ordinance? And that's what we talked about and agreed to, so go ahead.
So I don't have it up. Go to the resolution.
Yeah, is it?
There we go. I don't want to do the whole thing, right? What is the resolution? Isn't it in there?
It's all you need to scroll.
It's
up.
not in, it's,
It's in there, I saw.
is it?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can scroll around, see if I.
Scroll up, please.
There's an actual resolution.
Right there.
Yeah, okay. So, let's see, amendment of zoning, so, Mr. Strother, can I just add amendment of the zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance?
Zoning ordinance, comma, subdivision ordinance, and the first set, amendments.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So, I'd like to make a motion to, initiate amendment of the zoning ordinance and the subdivision ordinance. Concerning by right divisions in agricultural zoning district to the planning commission for recommendations. And this is based on promoting the health, safety, and welfare of the county and the citizens.
Is that the proper addition?
Do we have, I'd like reference to the, Virginia Code
Code.
section that relates to subdivision ordinance as well.
So I don't know what that
I
is.
don't know what that is.
Is it in the email? Hold on. I'm sorry, when I logged in, my computer decided to update, so I don't have access to my computer.
Okay. Let's see here.
Okay, here I got it. So is it the, code 15-2285B?
85.
2285 is the zoning ordinance.
That's the,
It's 2244, but I'm having trouble finding it.
Okay, let's get it right. So, you think it's, what do you think it is, Bill?
Well, I think it's closer to 2244. Josh, do you, perhaps he has that. 2240. Yeah, 15.2, 2240.
Say that again.
15.2, 2240, correct.
15.2, 2240. That citation will be included along with your amendment in the resolution. Does that meet with the county attorney's approval?
so do I need to reread it or we good?
Does he need to reread it?
Why don't we go ahead for clarity?
Okay.
Yeah.
So should I withdraw?
Why don't you withdraw, because there's no second read it
So
also.
I'm sorry. So let me withdraw the former motion. So I make a motion to initiate an amendment of the zoning ordinance and the subdivision ordinance in relation to by right divisions in agriculture zoning district, referring it to the planning commission in accordance with 15.2-2240. The purpose of which is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the county and its citizens.
All right, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the amendment to the resolution?
That's the motion.
Well,
Or that, well,
I'm sorry to do this, but I'd also like the Orange County subdivision.
oh, code citation.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, so we've got, do we have that citation?
Mr. Frederick, do you by chance have that?
should be chapter 54. Okay, I had 54 in my head, but I wasn't sure. Subdivision ordinance is chapter 54. And, yep, and if you want to go, is that correct, Josh?
Yes.
Okay, so we would add the Orange County Code, chapter 54 subdivision ordinance, in addition to the citation for the, Virginia Code
Yes.
citation. Supervisor Capel, is that a friendly
Yes,
amendment
Yes.
to add that in, so we're
yes.
covering both the
Thank you.
Virginia code as well as the county code. Okay, so the ordinance has been amended as presented. I think we have to take or the resolution, excuse me. We have to take a vote on the amendment, or do we just vote on the resolution? I think we have to vote. You tell me.
I think you should, but,
I do too. Okay, good. I just want to make sure. So, all right, we have a resolution that's with a proposed amendment to add the citation for the Virginia Code subdivision. And I'll repeat the number, we've said it before, in the Orange County Code subdivision ordinance, which is chapter 54. Is there any, do we have a second?
Second to those
And now we
changes.
have a second to that motion. Do we have any further discussion?
Just, we need to have the motions written. In
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah, no, I know. This was one that in the drafting, we had left that, it just got left out. It's good to go. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That amendment passes 5-0. We now have a resolution in front of the board. And it is, resolution number 260825-78 as amended. A resolution to initiate the amendment of the zoning and subdivision ordinances referring said amendment concerning by right divisions in the agricultural zoning district to the planning commission for recommendations. Do I have a motion
as amended.
as amended to accept the resolution?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Supervisor Van Hoven. This will entail a roll call vote. Well, first of all, is there any further discussion? I think we had that discussion early, but is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call.
Mr. Capel?
Aye.
Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Van Hoven? Ms. Coleman?
Aye.
Mr. Nick?
Aye. The resolution passes unanimously. Thank you all for, and to those in the audience for watching some of the sausage be made here this evening. Appreciate it. New business is concluded and we will move on to our added item under matters for discussion or consideration. Supervisor Coleman will allow you to kick this off. And then we'll have discussion amongst the group.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I make a motion, I would like to get some clarification from our attorney. It's my intention tonight to ask the board to send ZTA 25-02 back to the planning commission for additional review. I also believe there should be a pause on new technology district applications while that review is taking place. So I would like to first ask our county attorney, if the board refers ZTA 25-02 back to the planning commission, does the existing technology district remain available for new applications during that review? And if so, what action is legally available to this board to temporarily prevent new applications from being filed or processed until that review is completed? I want to be very clear about why I'm asking that question. What I'm proposing tonight is a pause, not an abandonment of the technology district and not a retreat from economic development. And I'll go on further, if I can get some weigh in from our county attorney.
So one of the important aspects and considerations will be the justification for pause. Is your a justification for the pause linked to the health, safety, and welfare of the community?
It is.
And if so, if you could articulate that for the record.
So I'll proceed. Thank you.
Okay, so one point of order. It was my understanding when I talked to Supervisor Coleman that she was actually looking to specifically send some items back to the planning commission that were related to the technology district for the planning commission, but you did not mention to me of anything about a pause.
That was in my motion when I added it to your consideration.
I understand that, but in our conversation earlier today, I had an email from you that did not have anything about it. And so what I'm going to, as a point of order for my colleagues, my understanding and the reason I accepted adding this to the agenda is for the sole purpose of referring certain items back to the planning commission. So I'm just going to say right now, I will be voting against this because it was misrepresented earlier based on what I understood we were going to talk about in front of the board.
My apologies, Mr. Chairman, that was not the intent. I had
That's
sent you an
okay.
email last week and did not hear back from you, and I made a phone call from the airport.
No,
And we had a quick
that's not true.
conversation this morning, and you said my item that I had requested by email last week to add it as an amendment to the agenda. And in my motion to add it, I clearly stated, that this is what I wanted to put on the
Okay,
agenda.
well, let's, if you want to get technical, you sent an email to me at 2 o'clock on Friday. I was out of town. I called you, I texted you this morning and called you. You were at an airport, called me back, and I asked you, or I indicated that the agenda had been published. If you want to make an amendment in consideration of the email that you sent to me, here's how to do that. You changed the language in your email and added something that was not in your email. It's not in your email. I'll read it if you want me to read it out loud so everyone knows what it says. So what I'm saying is, we can have this discussion all we want. I will vote no on this. And I'm just telling you right now because it was not in your email that you were going to do
Again,
this.
my apologies, Mr. Chairman, but that was not the intent. Can I
Okay,
move forward?
You can move forward,
Thank you.
and we will take the proper vote.
I will also add, in addition to ensuring that there is a rationale based on health, safety, and welfare for any kind of pause, any time that is considered comes with some risks involved. And so, particularly for any kind of by-right uses that are at play, that does create a legally sensitive consideration. And so it must be certain that we're not affecting by-right uses. If there's any kind of determination, decision that's being made as it relates to pause that's associated with by-right uses. And then, of course, the pause has to be based on health, safety, and welfare rationale.
Okay, thank you. And so, this not being a by right option, and since it requires special use permits and it is a quote floating zone district, hopefully that risk will be limited. I'll start again. What I'm proposing tonight is a pause, not an abandonment of the technology district and not a retreat from economic development. Over the past 8 months, I have learned a tremendous amount about data centers.
Hold on a second. I need to call point of order. You need to make a motion and then we'll have proper discussion. This is not just an open
Okay.
floor. So if
I
you
thought I
want
had to, I thought, council just said that I had to show the health.
In a motion. You can't just talk, you have to make a motion and do whatever you're going to do. So make a motion that we can all understand what your motion is, and then you can proceed to say what's in your motion. And once you do that, we will then open it up for discussion amongst the board, and then we'll take a vote up or down. So make your motion, or we will move on.
Am I allowed to speak now?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that ZTA 25-02 be referred back to the Planning Commission for additional review and recommendations regarding the concerns identified by the board and through public comment, including district location and acreage, residential setbacks, power generation and consumption, and utilization of existing infrastructure, wastewater discharge, and noise standards. I feel that this is, I thought I had to show the health and welfare.
You can't tell your
Okay.
feelings.
Okay.
Is that your,
Thank you
is
for
that your
keeping me
motion?
straight, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it is.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? And it takes a second to move this motion forward.
I guess I got lost in the motion. So please explain the motion to me.
My motion, Mr. Chairman, may I?
Read the motion.
My motion is to refer ZTA 25-02, which is our technology district, back to the Planning Commission for additional review and recommendations regarding the concerns identified by the board and through public input, including district location and acreage, residential setbacks, power generation and consumption, and the utilization of existing infrastructure, wastewater discharge, and noise standards. I believe maybe I missed, do I have to include the pause in that motion, if that is my intent?
Yes.
With a pause for all future applications until such time that we have had the opportunity for the Planning Commission to refer back to the board and the board take appropriate action.
So we have a motion. Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion dies for lack of a second. Next up is Department Director and Constitutional Officer reports. We have none. Next up is the County Attorney's report.
No.
No report from the County Attorney. And next up, our County Administrator, Linda Paul, I believe is on Zoom. Hello, Glenda, how are you doing? We'll have to get your audio on. We can't hear you just yet.
Can you hear me now?
There we go, thank you, and thank you for joining us during your vacation time, we appreciate that. The floor is yours.
Happy to do it. I'd like to just give a brief report on an incident that happened recently with a FOIA request. Mainly, I want to acknowledge and apologize for an error in a recent county response to a FOIA request. During our review and redaction of responsive records, a link to confidential information was inadvertently left unredacted. Virginia's Freedom of Information Act serves an important purpose in ensuring citizens have access to the workings of their government. At the same time, the law recognizes that there are legitimate reasons certain information should remain confidential. That balance is particularly important in economic development matters, where citizens have a right to understand the actions of their local government, while property owners and businesses should also be able to explore potential economic development opportunities involving their property with the confidentiality afforded to them by the law. FOIA exemptions exist to protect that balance. When those protections apply, our citizens and business partners should be able to count on us to safeguard the information they are legally entitled to keep confidential. In this instance, we fell short of that responsibility, and I sincerely apologize. We have taken steps to address the error and are reviewing our procedures to help prevent it from happening again. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, County Administrator Paul. I think in these times where you properly noted we have a balance to strike, and when an error is made, you did the right thing. You came to us, you told us about it, you have acknowledged and taken responsibility and accountability for that mistake. And I know we're all human. Everyone in this room, everyone in this world has had a mistake. Sometimes we have mistakes every day. But when we take responsibility and accountability for those mistakes, we're better for that. And so I applaud you taking time out of your vacation to join us this evening and to recognize that fact and to tell the public what happened. Thank you very much, and please feel free to go back to your vacation. I hope you get some rejuvenation and rest and have a little fun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do appreciate the opportunity to be able to say this directly to the public, because I would feel very terrible if someone else were blamed for a mistake that was on my end. So thank you so much, and I'll be signing off.
Your integrity is beyond reproach. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is board comment. Board comment?
If I may.
Supervisor Marshall?
I'd like to say a few words. You know, every once in a while, someone from Orange County goes on to do great things. And in our midst today, we have that particular individual. I got to know this particular individual when he was a small boy playing Little League baseball down here at East Orange. He played on the same team as my son, and later went on and played ball middle school and into high school. And right out of high school, we got drafted by the Major League Baseball. This particular individual is Bradley Hanna. And last week, Bradley pitched for the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium. And to go from East Orange Little League to Porterfield Park to Yankee Stadium is no small accomplishment. I know Orange County is really proud. His family is extremely proud. The school system and our sports are all real proud of Bradley, and we only hope the best for him. And like I said, it's no small accomplishment for someone to come out of Orange County and pitch in Yankee Stadium. Congratulations, Bradley Hanna.
Thank you, Supervisor Marshall. Supervisor Coleman?
Thank you for that, Supervisor Marshall. Quite an accomplishment. We're all proud of Bradley. Resuming some comments that I was hoping to make earlier, I'll go ahead now. Over the past 8 months, I have learned a tremendous amount about data centers, particularly regarding their significant power consumption, the infrastructure necessary to support them, and the potential implications for new high-voltage transmission lines. While I truly believe that every member of this board has approached the technology district with the best of intentions, I'm not too proud to say when I believe it is time to revisit an issue. For me, this is one of those times. Sometimes the most responsible thing we can do is pause, take what we have learned, listen to our community, and make sure the policies we have put in place are strong enough to accomplish what we intended. I also believe this pause could be important as Orange County continues to confront the proposed Valley Link transmission line project. If one of the concerns before us is the possibility that future high-demand development could contribute to the need for additional transmission infrastructure, then it is reasonable for us to examine our own policies and make certain we are doing everything within our authority to encourage the utilization of existing infrastructure and minimize the need for new high-voltage transmission facilities. If this pause can also strengthen Orange County's position as we advocate against unnecessary transmission infrastructure associated with Valley Link, then I believe that it is another important reason to take the time to get this right. I remain hopeful that one day Orange County will have an opportunity for the right project, one that benefits our community in ways perhaps greater than we ever imagined. And I have mentioned that over and over again. I believe that opportunity can exist, but I also believe we aren't quite there yet. There are important questions that deserve additional consideration before we move forward. Growing up here in Orange County my entire life, I always heard stories about how vibrant we once were. I heard about factories, train stations, clothing stores, movie theater, and businesses that created jobs and activity throughout our community. And while I know data centers don't particularly create a lot of jobs, I also do understand that they could bring a life-changing revenue to our community. Yet, even with all of that hustle and bustle, the greater portion of Orange County remained rural back in those days, and I feel like we could find that balance and utilize this opportunity to help the remaining county remain rural. As a child, I couldn't understand where the progress went or why so much of it disappeared. I heard bits and pieces over the years about decisions that were made and opportunities that were turned away for various reasons. I have become more involved in local government and have gained a much greater appreciation for the difficult balance between protecting what makes Orange County special and creating the economic opportunities necessary to sustain it, which again is the reason why I have been open-minded to data centers in the right place at the right time under the correct restrictions. I now understand how fear of change can also sometimes prevent progress, but I have learned something equally important. An engaged community can make progress better. Public input can identify concerns we may not have fully anticipated. It can challenge us to look more closely at the consequences of our decisions, and ultimately it can help us develop stronger policy. There has to be room for both. We owe it to our community to pursue responsible economic development because ultimately a stronger and more diverse economic base can help us protect the rural character of the rest of Orange County. We owe it to our children who want a good place to grow up and perhaps someday find meaningful employment here, and those kids that are looking for a decent ball field to pitch on. We owe it to our farmers, our homeowners, and our taxpayers who want Orange County to remain the place they love without carrying an ever-increasing tax burden. To include my buddy Dale, who constantly asks me when he's going to get a break on his taxes because he's getting too old and cannot afford where he's living now in Orange County because he can't afford the taxes. It's all a balance. We have to balance all of it. It's very difficult. I'm almost done. At the same time, we have to recognize that data centers, what they represent, they're a disruptor. We have seen paradigm shifts before, the internet, cell phones, large-scale retail, and countless other technologies that fundamentally change how we live and how our communities function. Data centers and the infrastructure supporting our increasingly digital world represent another such shift. It's a shift we cannot ignore, and one we may ultimately decide we cannot afford to avoid. But if Orange County chooses to participate in it, we must be prepared. Our policies need to be stronger and must protect our residents, our rural landscape, and our infrastructure and future. Keeping in mind, I helped build those policies that I'm referring to, but I'm also humble enough to know when they need more work. Again, that is why I believed that it was time to do the responsible thing and send ZTA 25-02 back to the Planning Commission for additional review. Not to abandon it, not to close the door on economic opportunity, but to pause, incorporate what we have learned, and make what we have created stronger. Specifically, if I had got a second and an approval, I would have asked the Planning Commission to further examine district location and acreage, whether the tech district should be geographically anchored as an overlay district rather than remain solely a floating district. Residential setbacks, whether setback from residential properties should be increased from 500 to 1,000 feet. Power generation and consumption, whether we strengthen our regulations concerning backup on-site power generation, overall electrical consumption, and the utilization of existing electrical infrastructure, particularly as these issues relate to the potential need for new transmission infrastructure. Wastewater, whether our regulations governing wastewater generation, treatment, and discharge can be strengthened. And noise, whether additional noise standards and mitigation requirements are necessary to protect surrounding properties and residents. I don't view sending this back and stepping away from progress. I view it as a deliberate pause in the interest of responsible progress, and there's a difference. We have an opportunity to learn from what other communities have experienced, to listen to our citizens, and to create something that protects Orange County, the Orange County we love, and while positioning us for a stronger economic future. And I have more to say, but I think that pretty much sums it up for now. Thank you.
Any other board comment? Okay. Next up, item number 13 on our agenda is informational items. No action required this evening. We have the Office on Youth Quarterly Report submitted by Alicia Vines, Office on Youth Director. Next up after that is our appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. Are there any appointments to make this evening? Nominations?
We still need someone to be appointed to the
Encompass
Communities Board.
I'm close. I am very close. Okay, no appointment, no nominations. We'll move on to our calendar for your information. It's a listing of the upcoming meetings on our calendar. So no action here this evening. We do have two meetings coming up in September, on September 8th and September 22. Item 16 on our agenda, public hearings, CPA 26-01, to consider proposed amendments to the Orange County Comprehensive Plan concerning transmission lines. Josh Frederick, Planning and Zoning Manager.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'll be very brief with this. You'll recall back in May, this board initiated this comp plan amendment specifically to address the existing policies related to transmission lines. We took that to the Planning Commission. They held a public hearing on it, as they're required to do. You have their adopted resolution in your packet. In the meantime, the county attorney also provided a different version with this suggested edits that is also in your packet for consideration. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, do we have any questions for Josh on the CPA 2601? No questions for Josh? Okay.
Yeah, Josh, just to recollect my memory, in May, as you suggested, we looked at various things in the comp plan, and they were listed, maybe there was 4 or 5 different things. The language in which we were looking at it then, is that currently in this, what we're looking at tonight? Those items listed individually?
Yes, also in your attachments, you have the Planning Commission's memo they sent over to the board. They have a list of recommendations that they advise the board to consider. The board subsequently chose 4 or 5 of those, if I recall correctly, to address, which they subsequently did with their recommendations to you all.
So they addressed those particular 4 or 5 points individually?
They were cohesively as part of the test that they recommended.
So the address was a cohesive response to 4 or 5 different items that we particularly thought needed better understanding.
Yes, sir.
And that would be in bold print here that, was shown to, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Any questions on this for Josh? Any other questions? Okay, with that, I'm going to open, do we have, any speakers for the public hearing? Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing. And we have 2 speakers, for the public hearing CPA 2601.
Okay, our first speaker is Stella Bradford.
Stella, please state your name, your address, and make your comments. We'll keep it 3 minutes, please.
Hello, my name's Stella Bradford. My address is 4405 Ridge Road. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to put protections for our welfare, our health, our safety. And I can speak for the mental anguish that this causes. Just watching my community be divided over whose route, wins. It's not really there yet because we're not even saying yes to this. We don't want Valley Link at all. So I appreciate that you guys are taking the time to review the comp plan and do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second speaker is Don McCown.
Good evening, Don McCown with Piedmont Environmental Council. Having to rethink my comments a little bit, but the thrust is, again, I wanted to say that Piedmont Environmental Council really appreciates Planning Commission's work and the board's work on this comp plan amendment specifically. We share, I think, your belief that this is a critical step in terms of preparing the best possible case before the Valley Link project comes before the SEC. So I appreciate the urgency with which the Planning Commission and the board has acted on this step. I will take a second to just reiterate something I said in the written comments. We do have concerns about including language in that comp plan amendment having to do with on-site power generation. And the reason for the concern is, one could fairly say that, well, PDC, a data center right now can't get power from the grid. That's probably accurate. And our concern is that the only option right now in the present, small nuclear, modular nuclear is not an option right now. So really what's left is an on-site natural gas power plant, which our concern is that brings really the same, some of the similar impacts to high voltage transmission line, and would have the same community, would raise the same community concerns as Valley Link itself. So we feel like that on-site power generation, because it will require new pipelines, is not a good option. And it follows from that we feel like a pause is in order, and so I'd like to echo Supervisor Coleman's call for a temporary pause on new applications. Just in the last 2 months, Chesapeake, Suffolk, Virginia Beach, and I believe Loudon is expected to consider something similar on September 15th. It's, the landscape is shifting with Valley Link and other large-scale transmission line projects that are happening, and with the lack of infrastructure and on-site power generation, there's just more planning that needs to be done. PEC has been calling for over a year for the state to pause the plan, and while that's not happening, we're urging them to always consider the same approach. So thank you for your time and for your continued efforts on these big issues.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our speakers for public hearing on CPA 2601. I will close the public hearing. Okay, members of the board, we have CPA 2601, consider proposed amendments to the Green County Comprehensive Plan concerning transmission lines. Open floor for discussion.
So I can't open my documents, so I don't know what I did wrong, but I just froze my iPad here earlier. I don't have the printed version in front of me, so I'm gonna lean on you to work. Let's see what's being proposed to go.
Right now, I have the red line version that shows the county attorney's remarks. Would you like to look at that first, or the version that was approved by the planning commission?
The version that if we say yes right now, which one is?
So we have a referral from the planning commission, and that referral from the planning commission, if you could go to that, please. That referral in and of itself is a document, and we could move that forward, or we could look at some additional language that was provided by the county attorney, and either add or not add that as well. So it's up to us.
Okay, so that's the understanding I had, so.
And, yeah, we can make any edits.
We can make edits, we can't make material change edits, because that's putting us at risk, right? So I'm pro the planning commission document moving forward. Anything beyond that, as long as they're just very small changes, otherwise we're gonna have material change problems. Right?
Okay, let me ask our county attorney, so I know you provided some comments, are any of the items that you provided material changes from the planning commission?
So I wouldn't characterize them as material changes. There are a few sentences that are referred to the actual kilovolts that can present some consideration as to whether or not they're material changes. But I think that they're crafted and designed so as that they're related specifically to the utility transmission lines themselves, so that they would not, they are not material.
Because you're really addressing the transmission line,
That's correct.
not the kilovolt issue.
That's correct.
Okay? Appreciate that clarification. So it would be your view that that would not constitute, the edits that you provided.
As drafted, I would suggest that they are not material changes for the planning commission.
And you'd be willing to defend this in court on that?
Yes.
There you go. Okay?
I don't think I'm willing to go beyond the scope of what the planning commission has suggested. I'd like to stay with what they've suggested as of right now. If there's any changes to be made from that, perhaps more time and effort should be invested into what those changes are.
I'm so confused. What portion is beyond what the planning commission?
That is confusing.
I just wanna make sure I completely understand. So we have, because we have green font, red lines, and then we have some bolded language down below that I have questions about.
Okay, so we have a memorandum, and maybe I can start us off here. We have a memorandum from the planning commission dated May 7, 2026. Recommended changes to the comprehensive plan. And in that, there are specific recommendations. Let's go to page 47 of 52. Okay. You have a version issue? Okay, there we go. Okay, so the item in bold is what the planning commission is recommended to the board. Planning commission recommends that all, this is one of the recommendations, that all electric transmission lines must adhere to the county's stated application process to ensure that all relevant federal, state, and local regulations are adhered to by using existing corridors, which should be prioritized over new corridors pursuant to House Bill 889, Senate Bill 497 of 2026. Additionally, all utility and transportation projects must comply with all relevant federal, state, and local regulations, especially Virginia Code 15.2, 2202, and Virginia Code 15.2, 2232, as well as the county's comprehensive plan. Any deviations from the county's comprehensive plan requires a special use permit and or a rezoning application. That is recommendation, we'll call it number one. It's actually number one, because it's noted as number one in their memo to us. And then you go to number two, number three, number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and at the end, the planning commission's summarizes by saying the planning commission is recommending the aforementioned changes to the comprehensive plan as the board reviews its short-term and long-term strategies. The planning commission defers to the board in terms of acceptance and prioritization of each recommendation. The planning commission is prepared to implement the required formal process for any and all changes to the comprehensive plan. So this is what came from the planning commission. This is their recommendation, series of recommendations. But I just wanted to walk through that document so we were all tuned into that. And then we have a resolution, an ordinance of approval, 260-825-16A. And that would be an ordinance to approve comprehensive plan amendment CPA 26-01 concerning utility transmission lines. There, the resolution would adopt those items. Am I missing something in that? Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think Supervisor Gordon, to your question, at the very top, we go all the way up to the very beginning. Not necessarily, the beginning of this section. You have to go down. I want you to go to the top of
So the Senate
this
memo,
section, resolution.
it's page 39 of 52. That's the actual resolution that was passed by the planning.
So if you scroll
Down from there.
So that is what the planning commission, that's straight out of the planning commission. Right. green language.
The memo described, and then they put language that could be adopted into the comprehensive plan.
Correct. And that's what the planning commission recommended to the board. And if you scroll down some more, Latoya, go past the map, keep going. Okay. Right there.
43.
Right there, these
Yes.
are, yes. Those are Mr. Strother's suggested changes to what the planning commission.
In red. Mr. Strutter is in red.
Well, Mr. Strother's in green now, and the red is what was
Oh,
struck out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our county attorney, we had the planning commission document, both the memo, it was then put into comprehensive plan language that Jason just walked us through, and then county attorney Strother made, suggested edits to what the planning commission had presented. And those are in green, for those who can't see, it's kind of different than the black and white. So the green underline and the red stripe through are those items that our county attorney suggested that we strike. This is what we are here to decide on.
Just for clarification, in this bold black and white, like number 6, the planning commission recommends or urges the board to authorize collaborative process to map areas of prime soils, farmland, and use that information in considering what parcels should be included in A1. Is that what we're asking to adopt?
Yeah.
No, that was a
So,
memo.
yeah, so we, the board, gave them things to consider. And then they came to us and we prioritized those. And then they edited the comp plan specific to the transmission line situation. The reason they got into the map is they were trying to create a map and use what we already had to delineate where we might want transmission lines, or we might allow, them, or we might not. So that particular recommendation is a future, that's something they recommend we do in the future.
But if you look at the actual resolution and the language from the comp plan, straight from the planning commission, go back again to page 40, 52. Where it says utility transmission lines, these are the changes specifically recommended by the planning commission to the board.
To the comp plan,
To the comp
Supervisor
plan.
Marshall, and only in the section pertaining to transmission lines. And this is the only place that the Virginia code tells the SCC that they have to pay attention to our documents. It's the comp plan, and so this was an attempt to, not necessarily for Valley Link in particular, but in general, to try to govern where transmission lines might, I don't want to say be allowed, but to basically say we only want them in existing corridors, and we want them underground in these locations. So that's roughly what the original comp plan from the planning commission says.
So what's the purpose of what we're doing now with all this other language in there? Are we give guidance, or we can make a vote, or what?
So we either can adopt what the planning commission sent, or we can consider the changes that, Mr. Strother proposed.
Or you can make edits to either.
Or you can make edits to either.
So, my edits incorporate, further consideration of the standards that we're using. Went into the code section and, saw certain provisions that are not in the recommendations of the planning commission. And certain, for example, there are things that, the, transmission, submission, the company would have to, work with the county prior, pre-application and provide certain reviews and summaries and data points, to the county prior to their application to the SEC. That was not included in the planning commission's version, but, it is something that's provided for in the Virginia code, and so I thought that would be a good idea, to include that for the board's consideration. Any of those things that are part of the procedural, considerations that they, transmission, company would have to do, or the company would have to do, prior to the SEC, working in collaboration with the county. I thought, the directive that I received from this board was that those would be good things for consideration, including the comp plan.
Because they didn't happen during this process.
Correct,
So our comp plan was silent.
So I've included those.
Yes. So for example, just, I think this is worth stating, 43 of 52 in the middle, page 43 of 52, go in the middle. Okay, right there. So the paragraph that starts, Orange County expects strict adherence to the duties of state agencies and electric utility providers set forth in Code of Virginia 15.2.22.02. And what that edit that you added in there was what you just described.
Well, that's right, so it provides, for any proposed electric transmission lines of 150 kilovolts or more that may affect the county's comprehensive plan. The county expects early notice and meaningful opportunity for consultation before any applications filed with the State Corporation Commission. Okay. So that is exactly what I just.
Yeah, that is exactly what you just described, and the planning commission didn't include that, and but this is not a material change.
No.
This is
Tracks the
actually,
Virginia code.
it's actually citing the code of Virginia and saying, this is what our expectations are from any utility provider, Valley Link 2, Valley Link 3, Valley Link 100, when they come in, such consultation should allow the county, the planning commission, affected residents to evaluate the proposal for consistency with this plan, meaning our comp plan, and to identify feasible alternatives, including use of existing corridors, co-location, route modification, underground installation, and other measures to avoid or reduce impacts. So if we adopt what the planning commission sent us, that will not be included. So the reason we asked our attorney to look at this with an eye toward the code, to make it even stronger as it respects utility transmission lines. It's up to us on whether we want to put that in there or not. And as the county attorney said, we can either put these in total, or we can walk through here and pick the ones that are favorable to the majority of this board. And that's what our charge is.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes. Good.
Put you on the spot there, Mr. Bell. We were discussing this when it came across, right? And there was two, so I'm lost right now because I'm not staring at my own document, I'm watching the screen for the first time. There's two paragraphs that I didn't care for. Are they out of this thing now, or yes or no?
They are still in, the version that Mr. Strawber said.
And so,
Which paragraphs are those?
do you know what they are?
They're the two sentences that reference the 5
5 megawatts?
megawatts.
So if you go to, I had this by heart.
One's at the beginning, and one's toward.
Yep.
Going off of that.
And they are the sentences, I think, that,
Yeah, so this is predicated on several factors, including the count, so where are we now? Okay, right there.
So Brian,
Stay
before you
with it.
carry on.
Yes,
My initial statement of material change referred to these two paragraphs, okay? I believe we're hinging on material change in them two paragraphs, but I'm not a lawyer. So, sentences, so these two sentences were not in our attorney's recommendations. I now feel comfortable because I don't think we're hinging on this material change aspect. If they're still in this document, then I'm gonna hinge on what Mr. Marshall says. He says we probably need to stick to a planning commission. Perfectly fine, because so far everything that's been brought up via Valley Link has nothing to do with these two particular sentences. So my suggestion, we would take these two sentences away. We now have no potential material change problem. And at least we've tightened this thing up better. Would I be accurately describing what I've discussed with you over the phone?
Okay, so just make sure I understand. The sentences you have an issue with are as follows. This is predicated on several factors, including the county's expectation that any uses with an anticipated electrical demand of 5 megawatts or greater should provide sufficient on-site electrical generation to meet their operational needs without requiring new high voltage transmission infrastructure to serve the use. That's one. Number two, no electric transmission line within these corridors should exceed, is that the other one? No, that's not it, I'm sorry. That's at the bottom. Let me find it. I saw 5, I went right to that.
It's on 45.
There too, there it is.
Right in the middle.
Yep. Yep. So the other sentence is, within these areas, Orange County does not plan for, encourage, or anticipate energy supply or demand uses that exceed 5 megawatts or that would create or materially increase the need for new or expanded electric transmission infrastructure. So what I hear you saying, if I can sum this, is if those two sentences are out, you're good with the rest of the edits from the county attorney.
I am.
And I'm also going to say this, and I'm okay with that. I mean, we have, again, we're perfect is the, we can be perfect, or we can walk through this in the proper way to try to get to a resolution on this. But I did hear the county attorney said that he didn't believe those were material changes, but we can have a different view of that. Is that?
I think you certainly can, and I think that those provisions give rise to the opportunity of having different views.
Yeah.
And so removing them removes that
Removes
risk.
any question and
Risk
risk.
of different views, and makes the rest of the provisions even more clear.
Okay, that is what I was hoping you would say. So,
I have a question. Nothing in these changes will make reference to this so-called map, correct? This map goes away.
That's not true. Both versions reference that.
Right.
yeah, both the planning commission
So this
and
map becomes a part of the comprehensive change?
Correct.
comprehensive plan.
The changes, the edits, that Mr. Hovind,
Yep.
is suggesting, would not.
So on this map, it says future land use A1 agriculture.
So, Supervisor.
We don't have A1 agriculture.
Supervisor Marshall, that map's already in the comp plan. So the A1, A2 is already, I know you're concerned about the map, I get it. But that A1, A2 is already in the comp plan
That's right.
as a future land use, so.
I don't agree with that.
Well, it's in there.
Hold on,
It's in there as a soils map, that dates back to
No,
1980.
Supervisor Marshall, it is in there, just as it's presented, you can disagree with it,
I
but
have difficulty agreeing with what you believe.
it's not a
We
belief.
do not have a comprehensive plan map for A1 property?
We do.
Disagree.
Josh, Frederick, is there a future land use map in the comp plan today that has A1 and A2?
Come to the podium and answer, please.
Yes, it's a map in the Atlantis.
Is that a soils map?
Or soils map is a separate map.
Pardon?
Soils map is a separate map.
So it's already been mapped out, in your opinion, that where the A1 property is gonna be?
Yes,
100%.
And that's not uncommon. A comprehensive plan is kind of a future, a look forward to the future. That's the intent of it. And again, remember, comp plan is only a guide. It's the zoning ordinance that is actually the rule of law for the county. And so comp plans, are routinely, kind of chart, the vision of the future.
But the zoning ordinance, if it said A1 and A2, which it does not, would be the law of the county. So
Supervisor Marshall, this does not change anything. I understand your concern. I'm just telling you that that's been in the comp plan forever. This addition of this map doesn't change anything about the discussions we've had on zoning or by right or anything. It is using a map that was already in the comp plan and using that to delineate areas where we would like to have transmission lines underground. And it has no bearing on anything else.
And no one can use this map to declare something in the ordinance that doesn't exist.
This doesn't.
Is that true, Mr. County Attorney?
That is true.
So Supervisor Marshall, I understand your concern, but on my honor, this is not gonna do what you're concerned about.
That's what scared me a little bit.
Well, it's not my honor. We can get into that.
So what this is just a reference point until we adopt an A1 and versus an A2.
And the ordinance.
In the ordinance. It's effectually, for our landowner, it's meaningless right now, you're still ag.
Yes.
This is just telling us when you're in these shaded areas, this is what you're gonna have to do.
That's correct. Until you've adopted the zoning district, as part of your zoning ordinance, the land, property owner does not change.
You've seen this come up in every single rezoning that we've ever looked at. Where they always say, does it comport with the comp plan? Does it comport with the future land use map? Does it comport with A1, A2? As long as I've been on the planning commission, that's been the case with every rezoning and special use permit. So this doesn't change any of that. This is specific to the transmission lines. And maybe in the future, we might want to refer to this map for other things, I don't know, but it sits in the comp plan. It's not the same as zoning ordinance. There's still a broad discussion on someday maybe where A1, A2 actually exists in the zoning ordinance.
But today and tomorrow and the next day and yesterday, A1 and A2 are not in our zoning ordinance. They are not delineated, there's no district for either one of them. That's a future land use map,
And this does not change that.
and it doesn't change it. In fact, it's the exact same thing that exists there.
You agree with that?
I do agree with that. That's exactly what it is.
Just, there are some additions on this map because it takes in the battlefields, it takes in other things that we're trying to deal with future transmission lines on. But with respect to A1 and A2, this doesn't change anything. It's a status quo, exactly where we were before, we'll still be there now.
Okay, so I'm wanna move this along here if I could. So it sounds like, well, we have to have a motion of some sort here.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I'm still hung up on the memo below all this. like,
We're not
there's some
voting on the
strong recommendations in there. I just
We're
wanna
not
make sure
voting on
that
any.
everybody knows we're not taking a vote on that.
No, we are not. The only thing we would vote on is whether we accept the language presented by the planning commission, or whether we accept the language presented by the planning commission with the, advice and counsel and edits from our county attorney, absent two sentences, that have been identified as problematic. So if we could start, here we are. So if we could be on top of page 43. There it is. Okay, so the planning commission gave us utility transmission lines and a set of, language. The county attorney went in and provided items, as he explained earlier, that strengthened our case with, as an example, with respect to the State Corporation Commission. There were two sentences identified that were, and one is right here, the second sentence on the first paragraph. This is predicated on several factors. And then the other one was the one on the next page. On page 45 of 52, where it also references 5 megawatts. Those two sentences have been proposed to come out by Supervisor Van Hoven. He's not comfortable with those. And so if those come out, then we can either choose to adopt this or make other changes to the language that exists here. So it's up to us to make that decision. I think, I haven't really put a stake in the ground here, but I have great confidence in our attorney and his review. I understand the concern around the 5 megawatt and the 2 sentences. I agree, those can come out. I would support the rest of the edits that were presented by the county attorney because they strengthen our position as a county in front of and prior to the SCC, so that we don't face what we had. I know Valley Link had a couple meetings with staff, but we didn't find out anything about a line until they put that map out there when everybody else got it. And so once that happened, and we found out about it, we had no way for this board to engage, and we had nothing in our comp plan that set that as a requirement. And what this does is strengthen that so that if Valley Link, again, were to come at us, we would have a wholly different process going forward. I think that's good public policy. I think it's something that we lacked when Valley Link came and threw a map on our desktops and laptops. And I think this language is presented by our county attorney is something worth accepting. And will strengthen our position as a county as it respects utility transmission lines. It builds on what the planning commission does and makes it better. I'll stop there and take any other comments.
One comment, our comp plan was not silent.
Well,
So I just want to put
yeah,
our
I
comp
wasn't
plan-
suggesting it was. It had some language in here, but this is far better than what
Yes,
exists.
the comp plan originally said that we did not anticipate any electric lines outside of the existing corridors.
Correct.
So they obviously ignored that.
Yes.
I just wanna,
That's a great point, and I wasn't trying to say that we didn't have anything in here. We're trying to strengthen the utility transmission line portion of our comp plan to give us a much better, set of guidelines that the SCC and the utilities, take into consideration, whoever that utility may be. Any further discussion? right, I'm gonna make a motion to move this forward. I'm gonna move, that we, take the two sentences on, that reference 5 megawatt, the one at the very beginning, the second sentence of the utility transmission lines contained on page 43, and on page 45, in the first full paragraph, the second sentence that begins, within these areas, Orange County does not plan for, occurs, or anticipate any required demand uses that exceed 5 megawatts, or that would create or materially increase the need for new or expanded electric transmission infrastructure. So I'm moving, that those two sentences come out, and that we adopt, this, new language for the comp plan as presented, by the planning commission and with edits from the county attorney. This is the motion.
Just a reminder, of the public hearing.
We held a public
Yeah,
hearing.
this has been going on.
It's been going on for a while after the public.
I just wanna make sure.
We had 2 commenters in the public hearing happened, and now we are in our discussion on what we're to do about. So thank you for checking on
Sorry
that,
to interrupt.
because it wouldn't be beyond me to miss that, so thank you. So we have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Before I second, because I'll gladly do that, let's go ahead, please scroll up one more time and read the other sentence to myself. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on the motion?
I just want to say, anytime we make changes to the comprehensive plan, we have to be careful. When we try to fix one thing, a lot of times there's things you may not realize at the time that you may be doing that may have a reverse effect. But I do think what we're trying to do here in staving off the transmission line and strengthening our comp plan to push back as much as possible. I'm very much in support and favor of that, but at the same time, I'm extremely careful that we don't do something that we later regret as far as making changes to the comp plan.
Thank you, Supervisor Marshall.
So, I'm inclined to vote in favor of the motion, but I would, and it's already passed, but I do prefer that those two sentences stay in. But I'm gonna vote for it because we gotta move this forward, and we gotta get this in front of the SEC, not for Valley, but just in general for transmission lines. But I just want to be clear that I did actually like those two sentences.
Fair. Thank you, Supervisor Capel. Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to adopt the planning commission submission with the proposed edits from the county attorney minus the 2 sentences that have been previously read multiple times. And this, is this roll call, or is it? I think we should do a roll call as well. So we will take a roll call vote.
Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Coleman?
Aye.
Mr. Nichol?
Aye.
Mr. Capel?
Aye.
Mr. Van Hoen?
Aye.
The motion passes for CPA 2601 unanimously with the changes as noted. Thank you for that robust discussion. These things can be complicated, and I also want to thank the Planning Commission for their good work. This is all about protecting Orange County from transmission lines and we've seen Next up is public comment. We have a number of speakers. We have 8 speakers for public comment. Just to reiterate for everyone, our public comment is going to be for 3 minutes. Try to keep it within 3 minutes when you approach the podium. Please state your name and your address, and please provide us with your comments.
Our first speaker is Stella Bradley.
First speaker is Stella Bradley.
Hello, my name is Stella Bradford. My address is 4405 Ridge Road. First of all, quickly, I'd just like to start on a 3-minute journey each month to read you guys the United States Constitution. I'll start with a preamble. We memorized it in 3rd grade at Grimes. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Article 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in Congress of the United States, which shall consist of the Senate and House of Representatives. Section 2. That House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every 2nd year by the people of the several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained to the age of 25 years and 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to the respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and including, that's old stuff, excluding Indians and not taxed Native Americans, they should have been, 3/5 of all persons. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States, and within every subsequent term of 10 years, in such manner as they shall by law direct. The number of representatives shall not exceed 1 for every 30,000, but each state shall have at least 1 representative, and until such enumeration shall be made, the state of New Hampshire shall be entitled to choose 3, Massachusetts 8, Rhode Island Plantation 1, Connecticut 5, New York 6, New Jersey 4, Pennsylvania 8, Delaware 9, Maryland 6, Virginia 10, North Carolina 5, South Carolina 5, Georgia 3. When vacancies happen in the representation from a state, the executive authority thereof shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies.
Thank you.
Next, we have Virginia Rockwell.
Virginia Rockwell. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I'm going to comment on
Please state your name and your address.
Virginia Rockwell, 4247 Ridge Road, Barbersville, 22123. And I want to thank you all for handling 2, maybe 3, very comprehensive issues tonight. The ag and subdivision ordinances in tandem, sending that back to the planning commission with, I hope, more public engagement. You know, you did some public engagement with people in the ag community on that before, but I think bringing those things together through the planning commission is great. Secondly, on motion and the energy transmission lines. We made really good progress, and I think we're more protected than we ever knew we needed to be, just a few months ago. And I do just want to talk a little bit about what I'm hearing, because like so many people, we've had to put up our antenna and go on a very steep learning curve about technology. The picture trends that I'm hearing about AI and hyperscaling of data centers that we witness in places like Colorado are very recently, last week's commentary was, well, we're aware that we're overbuilding, but we think it's better to overbuild than underbuild. We don't know by how much. Of course, the people doing the overbuilding have no concept about what happens to that land when it's flattened and then disused halfway through the overbuilding process. The economics of diesel fuel, we talked about that with government people in March. I did. We thought that was a temporary aberration based on a short-term war. It's not. It's a long-term structural issue. Every farmer, everybody knows this. And the heating oil, diesel, it's a problem. That impacts the economics of these projects. And then finally, the conversation on Wall Street right now about AI is great. So is biotech, and so are airlines, and not a lot of people make a whole lot of money off of it. It's a very long payback period. So there's all this enthusiasm, and there's already a pulling back. Finally, the other trend that I'm hearing about is nano. When we went from CDs to an iPod for our music, there's some discussion that that's happening right now in the way the chips work and in the way these data centers are scaled. So it may be that the boutique scaled things coming down the road are more appropriate for Orange County. But what we don't want to get caught with is a hyperscaled data center that flattens the land, and that's it, and it never gets built. So I really appreciate the opportunity, and the last thing I want to say is you got a whole bunch of people in the community who are thinking about their land use in perpetuity, or at least for a few more generations, maybe 7 generations. And maybe that's the time scale that anybody coming into this county to do these kinds of developments needs to be required to think out. Not a 20-year plan, not 25, but what they remediate, what they follow with, and how they put it back into ag or conservation use when they're done. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Bonnie Fincham, 16567 Mountain School Road. I'm sitting here trying to comprehend everything that's going on around me, and I'm finding myself getting increasingly frustrated with the fact that the public is saying they're against the data centers, they're against the Valley Link, et cetera, and we keep on ignoring that. They're against a floating technology zone. It keeps being ignored. It looks like you have your agenda, you know what you want to do, and what people are saying doesn't make any difference. I'm a little upset by that. Like I said, there's a lot of things that have been mentioned before that have not been addressed. There's no decommission plans in place with data centers that we're aware of, none. Is there any plan to do a decommission plan? Are we going to be stuck with the mess that they leave? I'm concerned about the transparency. Anytime there's non-disclosure agreements, things are being hidden. Part of the stuff that's being hidden, in my understanding, is how much resources they're actually used, how much electricity, how much water. They can't tell you any of that. Another thing that troubles me is who is going to monitor these people to make sure that they're not putting chemicals back in the water. Who is going to be policing them to make sure that they're following the guidelines? And, you know, we have these things in place that they have to have a, a special use permit, but all of that stuff is subject to change. I mean, you can go in and say, okay, and I've seen it happen in the meetings when I've been here, that we have a policy in place, but someone comes in and wants to do something different, and we let them do it. We just ignore the policy. We say, okay, you know, we're gonna make an exception this time. That is going to data centers. They are just so devastating to our community, to our rural community, to our water, to everything, that I am so dead set against it, and it frustrates me to no end to see that we're not really taking steps. We just keep kind of kicking the can down the road is what I see. And I'm sorry, but I feel that way. I've been researching this since I found out about it in November, and I really don't feel like we're making a lot of progress. We make little snippets of, you know, like we're trying to do something, but why did we change the comprehensive plan to allow larger power lines? And it's only underground in historic areas. You know, what about the rest of us? We're gonna have 500 kilovolt lines over top of us? Really? So some things I think pause definitely needs to be in place, because there's data that shows there's problems with these data centers, and we're just kind of sweeping it under the rug. And I'm disappointed in all of y'all for that. Thank you.
Regan?
Michael Regan, D. Middle Lane, Locust Grove. Gosh, you guys continually find ways to disappoint. And I appreciate Supervisor Coleman's effort to try to right the ship, but I guess we're not going to go there. So I'm going to read. In summer of '24, Orange County Board of Supervisors directed the Director of Economic Development to begin what was described as an assertive recruitment campaign for data centers. The county's effort appeared to have directly benefited a few select privately owned properties by using county staff time and resources to identify, evaluate, and market those sites for hyperscale development. We are requesting financial records to determine whether public funds were expended to advance privately owned development sites, how much was spent, and which entity paid for the work. The county records show members of the Board of Supervisors and the Director of Economic Development discussing the Timmons Group for site assessment and study work on the county's top sites. According to records obtained through FOIA, Timmons had already completed the site work on the Goodwin parcel 24 as authorized by the Board of Supervisors. The county was subsequently pricing similar work for its other top sites, which brings us back to the money. If public money was used to advance this recruitment campaign, which entity authorized those expenditures? And if EDA resources or authority was being used, why were multiple members of the EDA board apparently unaware of the recruitment campaign that it even existed? At the same time, neighboring landowners who were not part of these recruitment efforts could ultimately be left to absorb the impacts of the industrial development those efforts were designed to attract. We have already seen how the proposed Valley Link 765 transmission line routes, they already passed through or near numerous properties the county had been evaluating for data center development, which brings us to the development of the Tech District Ordinance. That was designed with no meaningful, quote, showstoppers or site killers. Was Orange County making an independent legislative determination in 2025 about what land use regulations would serve the general welfare of Orange County? Or was it designing a zoning mechanism around specific privately owned properties and development projects the county was already working to advance? Properties had already been identified, developers had already been recruited, infrastructure had already been studied, site assessment work was already being considered, prospective projects were already being discussed, and while that was happening, the ordinance that would create the regulatory pathway for hyperscale data center development was being written. Orange County residents deserve a complete accounting of how those two processes intersected and how material changes were made to the ordinance, especially those after public hearing had closed, which benefited specific privately owned parcels under the study. Finally, a question to the board. What is the likelihood any of you denying a future data center application on any of the parcels the county had already expended considerable resources on? Especially given that essentially this same board rushed through the pathway for development through a tailored floating technology ordinance. And I do wonder after tonight's discussion how many zoning determination letters have been issued. It's almost like you're held hostage at this point. As a bit of tradition, I will end with another James Madison quote. The advancement and diffusion of knowledge is the only guardian of true liberty. Full disclosure would have gone a long way towards restoring public trust. Continued secrecy will do the opposite. If these projects were truly for the betterment of Orange County, then that should be self-evident in sunlight. The citizens of Orange County should not have to discover their government plans one FOIA request at a time. And to use your terms, Supervisor Coleman, pause the advancement of hyperscale development until you answer these questions and create a legitimate ordinance that sets meaningful limits and protects Orange County from the impacts of heavy industrial development. Technology is a marketing language. Heavy industrial development is the land use. We don't want heavy industry next to our home, farms, rivers, or historical resources. Thank you for your time.
David Hall, 8415 Shirley Road, Unionville, Virginia. Standing here appalled with this no response to a pause. I've been very active at the Spotsylvania meetings. They have put everything on pause. They were not written in blood. They did not have the involvement years ago that have come forward about this line. And apparently it's been going on forever. And now that you've approved the electric highway through your county, which I felt very sorry when I got my letter showing it, I'm just appalled with you. Thank you very much.
Sarah Regan.
Sarah Regan, 32641 Deep Meadow Lane. Thank you, Supervisor Coleman, for your motion today. It is absolutely shameful that the rest of you did not support it. Dovetailing off of what Michael said, the FOIA records regarding data center development show a closed loop, or what appears to have been a closed loop, operating outside of meaningful public oversight. The Economic Development Authority seems to have been left outside of that loop. It appears that the Economic Development Director interfaced with data center developers, then she talked to a couple of you, and then information, I assume, flowed from there in executive session. The EDA was left outside the loop, which is extraordinary. You describe the EDA's duties as promoting balanced growth and fulfilling your purposes and intents for new capital investment and job creation. Yet, several members of the EDA have stated they did not know about your data center recruiting campaign. And let's not forget, this is not merely staff inquiries to data center developers. They were doing extensive marketing, potentially expending public money, and it was a major initiative that never appeared in the EDA's minutes, annual reports, or recorded discussions. Confidentiality does not explain that. The EDA is itself a public body and can enter closed session to discuss legitimate, unannounced business prospects. The county did not have to exclude the EDA from these discussions. So why did you do it? Who decided which privately owned parcels in the county would be evaluated and marketed? What services did you provide for those properties? Was there public money spent on those initiatives? The EDA was supposed to provide another layer of judgment and accountability. Its members could have asked whether hyperscale development represented balanced growth and whether or not it was consistent with the comprehensive plan. Instead, they were discussing unemployment figures, routine programs, while the county's most consequential economic development campaign was managed elsewhere. This does not look like a simple oversight. It appears to be an intentional, structural program that controlled who knew what, when they knew it, and where questions could be asked. The board needs to disclose this full recruitment campaign, explain why the EDA was bypassed, Identify every single private site the county evaluated, studied, or marketed, and disclose whether public money went to marketing those properties. Until those questions are answered, and we, the public, are consulted, this board should not consider any hyperscale data center proposal. Thank you.
My name is Sigaroni, 192 School Resort. So I know that I'll ask questions, but it's kind of anyway. What makes you happy? What makes me happy is seeing my children healthy and happy. I have adult children, and if you look around, session after session in the audience, I don't see many young people. I see many people with gray hair like me. We all live some kind of happy lives, and we are old now. We are not dead, right? And we have children, and hopefully one day I will have grandchildren. I moved to this beautiful county a year ago from Northern Virginia. There I used to work for American Cancer Society. I worked there 7.5 years, and in those 7.5 years in Vienna, Virginia, there was a cul-de-sac with 10 mega mansions. And in those 7.5 years, out of that 10-house cul-de-sac, 6 families that are not related to each other came to my office seeking for help for their children. They all had leukemia. There was one thing in common on that cul-de-sac. There was a transmission line going through. I could not get the name of that street from American Cancer Society. My old coworkers blind. I wanted to bring it to your attention so that you can put in your proposal, and maybe the SEC takes it as a evidence that this is not a healthy solution for us. Again, we are all old. We will die soon. You want to leave for your legacy a good judgment, so that your children, your children's children look back and say, my grandmother, my grandfather did the right thing. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Sarah Cosby.
Sam Cosby, 24405 Montview Lane, Olivet Farm, Orange, Virginia. I didn't mean to bore you all again with my ramblings, but I just felt that some of the, I think that you guys decided to discard that map that you were using to define the protected agricultural areas. But I did not, in either case, whether you decided to retain it or include it in your changes that you proposed tonight to try to control Valley Link, because it didn't seem like you were trying to stop them. It seemed more like you were trying to control them. But I felt like there was a lot of agricultural land, and I think that may be what you were getting at, Supervisor Marshall, that was not included in that map. Farms that are taxed at a land use rate in our county do not seem to be included, and I think that that makes you qualify as agricultural. And I know that's an ongoing discussion about what is and what is not agricultural, where it's located, how it's used. It seems fairly obvious to me, if you're performing an agricultural function, you should be included as ag land. And the county's already acknowledged that when you're paying a land use rate tax. So that's the only reason I decided to come up and speak, because that was very concerning to me and confusing. And that's my other point is, early on, I said to you all that I felt that Valley Link was playing a shell game with their deceit and changing the target. Well, getting close to the SEC, the target's getting close. And I felt like a lot of the language that was in your document that you all approved tonight
was kind of sidestepping a lot of things, almost like was trying to give a way for data centers to slip in and potentially allows Valley Link to come in the back door with a different plan. And pardon my ignorance if my aspect is incorrect, but it just, a lot of it's very concerning. And I mean, I've stated many times that I'm completely against any data centers coming into Orange County. And I wish that y'all would still stand firm against Valley Link in no uncertain terms. And appreciate all your efforts towards those ends. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our public comment for this evening. Next up is a closed meeting and a motion. Okay. Move to enter closed session is permitted by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act for the purpose of consultation of legal consultations by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual probable litigation, whether such consultation or briefing in an open meeting with adverse effect, the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body. For the purposes of this subdivision, probable litigation means the litigation has been specifically threatened or on which the public body or its legal counsel has a reasonable basis to believe will be commenced by or against any party. Nothing in this subdivision shall be construed to permit the closure of a meeting merely because an attorney representing the public body is in attendance or is consulted on the matter as permitted by section 2.23711.a.7 of the Code of Virginia. Number 2, consultation of legal counsel employed or retained by the public body regarding specific legal matters requiring provision of legal advice by such counsel as permitted by section 2.23711.a.8 of the Code of Virginia regarding the Virginia State Corporation Commission. Number 3, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body as permitted by section 2.23711.a.3 of the Code of Virginia. May I have a second for that motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are in close. Thank you. Please travel safe.